Hello everybody. I want to come to you this afternoon and talk to you about a subject that I've been debating on whether to do a video on this subject or not. But here in the recent days we've learned about this pastor of a mega church, Pastor Jared Wilson, 30 years old, taking his life, committing suicide. And this is not the first time we've heard about pastors doing this. We've heard about Pastor Rick Warren out in California, I believe it is. His son, committed suicide. And even though we don't agree probably theologically about a lot of different things, and they are not in the same camp or the theological denomination that I'm in, it makes no difference on this particular subject, because what happens is a pastor, a preacher, an evangelist, whatever, comes under a great amount of undue pressure that a lot of people don't know and realize. You think about 1 Peter 5:8 says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." That's his job. Just because you're saved, just because you're a pastor, just because you're called into the ministry, does not exempt you from struggle, does not exempt you from the pain, does not exempt you from pressure from outside sources, does not exempt you from demon and demonic oppression. You may not can be possessed as a Christian, but you can definitely be oppressed from the outside. And the devil has got his biggest guns lowered deck level at our pastors, at our preachers, at our evangelists, at our preachers' kids, families, homes destroyed, because the devil got the man of God so down and depressed that he was able to work on the mind, build up strongholds in the mind that nobody knows about. Nobody knows about what that preacher goes through when he gets home, what goes on behind those closed doors. Nobody understands the statistics. I'm going to save you the trouble of reading all the statistics like 80% of pastors don't feel like they have a friend to talk to. Pastors that are leaving the ministry by the hundreds. 1,500 pastors leaving the ministry every month. The statistic, very high statistic of the family and the kids are affected by some of the things going on in the ministry. What a lot of people don't realize is, number one, most churches put their pastor on a pedestal. Some preachers like that. Some churches believe their pastor is some superhero, that he's above pain, that he's above struggle, that he's above depression, that he can solve anybody's problems because he's the preacher. But ladies and gentlemen, he's human. He faces the same struggles that we face every day, that you face, that I face. Human beings, sinners saved by the grace of God, that still go through depression, anxiety, things of that nature. So pastors, and I have many, many pastor friends. Even if you're not my pastor friend, I'm trying to do this to encourage you and let you know, number one, don't stretch yourself out too thin. I've done it. I've pastored several hundred people, and it's very tough, especially when you're doing it by yourself. Teaching in a Bible Institute on Tuesday nights for 2 hours, preaching and teaching on Wednesday night service, Sunday morning Sunday school, Sunday morning preaching service, Sunday night preaching service, and then go try to do a revival the next week, or a Bible conference, or a camp meeting of some sort. And sometimes as pastors, we have the idea that the more we're scheduled, the more revivals we do, the more that we go, that we're more important. People want us to come preach for them. And that's all well and good. But I think what happens is, and I've done this, and that's the only reason I'm telling you, I've done it. I've been there. I've had the Martha theology that cumbered about with much serving, when we need to be Mary, sitting at the feet of Jesus, getting fed ourselves so we can feed others. So don't stretch yourself out too thin. I've done it. I've been there. And I'm telling you, there's a strain on the mind. It's a strain on the body and the soul and the spirit. Watch out for your family. How many times have I heard and just talking with preachers and this, that, and the other, they get ready to sit down for a family meal for supper. The phone rings and they have to jump up and go to the emergency room. Their church members are wanting us. That's part of the ministry, but it takes a hold and a struggle on your family, especially when you're gone all the time. And maybe your spouse has a regular 40-hour week job or a part-time job that she cannot just get up and go with you. It takes a hold on your family. It takes a hold on your kids. Watch after your family. Your first priority ought to be the high priest of your home. Yes, pastoring that church, yes, wonderful, but don't forget to pastor your own home. And I've failed in that so many ways. Preachers, take time off. Shut your phone off. I read some more statistics about preachers working 50 and 60 and 70 hours a week. They felt like they had to. They felt like they were on call 24/7. And most of the time, yes, we are. Take time off. Shut your phone off. Get away. Jesus told his disciples to do that many, many times, to get away because of the pressure and because of the Satan oppression. And stay in the Word. Stay in prayer. I read about many, many pastors that don't read their Bible or don't pray unless they're preparing for a sermon. I've been there. When you're trying to prepare as many sermons through the week as sometimes I have, you forget to do your personal study. And what happens is the devil won't let that go. He'll see the crack in the door and he'll come in just at the right time. And ladies and gentlemen, pastors fail many, many times. And most of the time, they don't have anybody to turn to. They don't have any preacher friends to turn to because most of their preacher friends have turned and forsaken them, or using them as a stepping stone. Now that they're out of the way, they can boost themselves on up the ladder. My friend, we've got to pray for one another. Stay in that Word. Stay in prayer. Saturate yourself. Saturate your family. Saturate your soul and spirit in the Word of God. That's our defensive weapons against the devil. Churches, there's so many things that you could do. So many things. Number one, deacons, take as much pressure off of the pastor as possible. I know that many of you think it's your job to control the church and oversee the church. God did not call you to oversee the church. The bishop, the pastor, 1 Timothy chapter 3, the bishop, he's the overseer. And the deacons, you're not an overseer, you're a servant. And your servanthood should be to that man that you serve under. So many times we get the false idea that the deacons are supposed to control the money and control the purse strings and control what goes on in the church. And I don't know how your church is set up or organized, but I'm just telling you what the Bible says. The qualifications of a deacon and the qualifications of a pastor are very, very close. You know what that means? That means that deacon ought to be able to fill the pulpit when the preacher's gone, ought to be able to visit the sick, ought to be able to lead somebody to the Lord. And 90% of the time, deacons do not know their job or qualifications. Take as much pressure off of your preacher, of your pastor, as much as possible. Look for the warning signs. Church, look for the warning signs of your preacher. It'll come out in his preaching. It'll come out when you're talking to him in passing or in private. It will come out. You will be able to tell if he's down, depressed, under a heavy load. You'll be able to tell. Watch those warning signs. Listen, people, I've heard many times, 6 months later, people come up and say, well, we've known a difference. We could tell a difference in you the last 6 months. Why did you wait 6 months? Why didn't you come to his rescue when you first noticed it? Don't play Monday morning quarterback and look back and say shoulda, coulda, woulda. Help that man. He's under a load. He's not above reproach. He's not above hurt. He's not a superhero. Pray for him. Don't put him on a pedestal. He can't fix all of your problems. Many times, our churches, we run into the pastor's office and we throw all of our garbage out on his desk. And what took you many years to gather up, you expect him to fix it in 45 minutes or an hour and a half worth of counseling. It's not going to happen. He can't fix all of your problems. And don't put him under pressure. Don't put undue pressure on your preacher. This is why the suicide rate among pastors is very high. The stress level. Folks, we look at our preachers and we say, okay, 30-minute sermon, Sunday morning, anybody can do that. And then he can take off Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and Friday, and Saturday, and go play golf. I'm telling you, I don't know everything there is to know about pastoring, and I'm still learning myself. Been pastoring since my early 20s, but I have learned a few things. Being raised in the home of a pastor, I know what they go through. I've seen it on both sides. I've been on the preacher's kid side, and I've been on the pastor's side, and I know what they go through. And I'm not down on the ministry. I love serving people. I love serving the Lord. I love serving the church. But I have been where some of these preachers have been. And maybe I haven't gotten as low as they have and gotten that far down to where you want to kill yourself. But I'm telling you, it's there. And preachers go through that. And I'm just pleading with you today, pastor friends, some of the things that I've shared, churches, some of the things I've shared with you that you can watch for and look for. Like I said, I don't know everything there is to know about it, but I have done it a little while, and I've been through some stuff. I've made some mistakes, and I've struggled as a pastor. And thank God for good pastor friends that will come to your rescue and call and check on you and things of that nature. I appreciate that. And I hope and pray everything I've been through, everything you've been through, makes you better and not bitter. There was a time when you get real bitter over things. And God has to deliver you from that. God has to deliver your mind, renew your mind, like Romans 12 says, renewing of the mind. You have to do that. Because once the devil gets in, you do not understand. I know I've repeated myself many times, and maybe this video will not help one person. But I'm telling you, the devil uses any little thing to get in and to destroy and to seek out whom he may devour. So I hope this has helped. And I hope you pastors will stay strong, stay in the Word. And the last thing I'll leave you with is 1 Peter 5:7, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. And he does, my friend. We're living in the last days. And the devil is fighting tooth and toenail these last days for our churches, for our pastors, for their families. And he's doing a pretty good job. But it's time that we rise up, support one another. Yes, again, I don't agree everything theologically with these pastors that I've mentioned today that has committed suicide, but I can tell you this, I'm praying for their families because I know what they're going through. So I hope this has helped, and I pray that you'd pass it on. And if there's anything I can do to help you in any way, I wish you'd let us know.